Hey, today I'm going to address the question of how to combat fear and worry. I hope it's an encouragement to you. There's so much going on in our world right now that is contributing to people just walking through just a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of worry. In my house, I'm finding that I'm fearful of my wife's threats of cutting my hair. I desperately need a hairstylist to be able to go back to work so my wife can stop threatening me in that way. But all joking aside, like I have found in my life that there is so much fear induced, even in the environments that we find ourselves in. I find when I walk into the grocery store, just a level of fear rising in my heart because of the changing landscape of the world around us. I've also found that just the flood of information that we are exposed to in our generation induces a lot of fear. We are being flooded with information constantly, and our brains don't know what to do with it. And it's inducing a lot of fear in people's hearts. And I believe as the people of God, we're supposed to be different. The description in Jeremiah chapter 17 is a description of the blessed life. And he describes this blessed life like a tree planted by a river that doesn't wither in the heat, that doesn't get anxious in seasons of drought, never ceases to bear fruit. This one who trusts in the Lord. And so I really felt compelled today to address this topic of anxiety and fear. How can we combat fear and anxiety? So I want to do that in a practical way by equipping you with 4 ways to combat fear. And the first is this, the Lord's presence. The Lord's presence, which I want to demystify and I want to present to you as actually a very practical way to live life with an awareness of God. People hear the Lord's presence and they think that seems intangible, impractical, irrelevant to their lives. But I would propose to you today that cultivating an awareness of the Lord's presence is one of the number one ways to live with the peace of God and to live in such a way where you're trusting God more. My simple definition of the Lord's presence that I talk about quite often around our church community is the reality of the Lord's rule and reign in a person or a place. And so when we talk about the Lord's presence, we're talking about an awareness of that reality it's not contingent on us, it's not contingent on the circumstances around us. Do you know the Lord reigns and he rules regardless of what's happening, regardless of what you think about it? He rules and reigns. And so cultivating the Lord's presence is cultivating an awareness of that being the preeminent reality. That becomes the driving reality in your life over anything else. Over any other emotion or whim that rises up in your heart. At the end of the day, you know that Jesus still sits on the throne. King Jesus still rules and reigns with all authority, with all power. I would say a hero of the faith over the last 300 years in this area of cultivating an awareness of the Lord's presence has been a gentleman by the name of Brother Lawrence. And he wrote a Christian classic called The Practice of the Presence of God. And I just wanted to quote Brother Lawrence to you. He says, "The only requirement is that we place our confidence entirely in God. Abandon any other concerns, including any special devotions you've undertaken, simply as a means to an end. God is our end. If we are diligently practicing his presence, we shouldn't need our former means. We can continue our exchange of love with him by just remaining in his holy presence." And to me, when I reread that, it seemed all the more relevant today, 300 years after the fact, that after him writing it, just seemed all the more relevant. We diligently practice cultivating this appreciation for him first and foremost, and all of our former means, all the former things, just even from 2 months ago that have been taken away from us. Like we now recalibrate ourselves to value him first and foremost in our lives. And I believe that begins to really impact the way you see your day-to-day life. You see the circumstances around you, and we cultivate an awareness of the Lord's presence. Second way to combat fear is thanksgiving. That's right, thanksgiving. And specifically, I mean vocalizing thanksgiving to the Lord for the things that He's given you. We always have something to be thankful for. Always. You can always think of something that you're thankful for, the Lord's done in your life, the people that He's blessed you with, the fact that you have breath in your lungs today, you have a place to lay your head at night. We have so much to be thankful for, to live in this day and age, in this generation. We have much to be thankful for. And so I think of the passage in Philippians where the Apostle Paul says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. He says later in verse 6, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So Paul says it like it is, the life of a follower of Jesus is one who rejoices. It's one who, yes, presents prayers of petition to the Lord, but they're covered, they're clothed with thanksgiving. And so I've found in my life the power of thanksgiving. Third is this: meditate on truth. And choose to meditate on things that are true. There's so much that we don't know, especially in this current crisis that we find ourselves in. And there's such a flood of information, it's hard to constantly be vetting what's true and what's not. There's obviously a lot of misinformation going on. But I have found when I'm overwhelmed with information, it's really, really helpful to stop and just think on what I know to be true. Actually, as the Apostle Paul is exhorting these followers of Jesus in Philippi to be thankful, he goes on to encourage them to meditate on things that are truthful as well. And he says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's anything if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And that becomes the filter by which we begin to walk into daily peace, is when we place things through that filter. Are these things that I'm meditating on, are these things true? Are they pure? Are they lovely? Are they worthy of praise? And oftentimes the things that consume our minds are none of those things. They're the complete opposite of those things. We can't control every thought that comes into our mind, but we can take control of what we meditate on, and we can take those thoughts captive, and we can then choose to meditate on truth. Are the things that we are meditating on, are they pure? Are they lovely? Are they truthful? And as we do that, we'll find that peace will triumph in our lives, that fear will become less and less our taskmaster in our life. Fourth is this. Fourth way to combat fear in our lives is community. That's right, community. I'm talking about community during social isolation, social distancing, but community is so important, and community doesn't go away in these seasons where we're forced to live apart from each other. God has created us for community. That has been the way of life for humans for the last number of millennia, and it's going to continue to be the way of the people of God in the days to come, is living life together. I don't care what the pundits say about the future. People need to live life together, and we will live life in community in the days to come. We need each other. We're better together. I find that when I expose myself to meaningful relationships, that people give me a fresh perspective on truth. They help recalibrate myself and bring me back to steady ground. I can be completely off base and kind of an emotional roller coaster. But when I get around the right people that know how to encourage me, that know how to challenge me, I come back to level, sturdy ground. And that's why community is so important in our lives. And that's not going to go away in the days to come. So if you haven't been in much community at all with people as of late, I encourage you to pick up the phone and call a friend, maybe a friend from your life group, somebody you know in our church. Reach out to them, and confide in them, and encourage them, allow them to encourage you, allow them to pray for you. Just even that simple phone call can be a game changer for your week. So I encourage you to do that. I know many of the life groups are still trying to meet on Zoom. And if that's not the case for you, if you're not in any of those community environments of deep relationships, reach out to somebody, or reach out to us here at the church so we can help you get connected. We want people to continue to engage in community, for people not to be isolated or alone. Fear seems to really have its way and hijack our lives even more so when we're isolated and we are alone. And I would say I've found over the years that those that are isolated from community become so prone to this enemy who prowls around like a roaring lion. He just likes to get that one person, that one prey that's been isolated from the rest of the pack, and he pounces on them. So community is crucial in combating fear. So hopefully these ideas have been helpful for you in combating fear. Go ahead and leave feedback in the comments below. We want to hear from you in these days to come as we together are growing deeper. God bless.